chances of something happening. To begin today, have some highlighters, have several colors, have something to write with, and let's just go through page 773, the things I need you to know from that one. First of all, I'm going to highlight in the key terms 4 specific things that you're going to need to know right away or be able to access right away. And so over here we have outcome and sample space and then event and then probability. Later on, we'll talk about some of these other ones, but those are the first 4 vocabulary words you have to know fresh. Outcome, sorts of things that happen in like a what are the chances type of thing. Flipping a coin. The outcomes from flipping a coin are either heads or tails. And those 2 outcomes are going to be talked about in terms of what it means to have a sample space, all of the possible sorts of things that are happening or possible to happen. The event is the action of flipping the coin. And then the probability is the fraction, where we talk about what are the chances of getting heads or tails when those are the only 2 options you could get when you flip a coin. The learning goals for this lesson, listing the sample space. I just kind of mentioned it with flipping a coin being heads or tails. Constructing a probability model. Probability being the key word. In fact, as I highlight that, I also am going to go back and circle or underline that vocabulary word, probability. We need to be able to define it. Some of my conversations with students in the past have been like, I don't even know what that is. How do you not know what that is? That's like the one thing the news wants to report or the casino wants you to know about when, or not know about, when you are interacting with their games or with like the chances of meeting someone who could be the next president or someone who might have committed a crime in an area. Differentiate between uniform and non-uniform probability models. We'll get into that a little bit. Develop a rule to determine the total number of outcomes. Yup. Here we go, develop a rule. We're gonna definitely do this at some point in the next coming couple of videos. Classifying events as independent or dependent. There's that word, event. That's a vocabulary word. And then using the counting principle to calculate the size of the sample space of an object. Last of all, determine. So let's go into the review question. The review questions in this one say, determine the sum or product, write your answer in lowest terms. So when we have fractions and we're adding fractions, the goal of adding fractions is to have common denominators. You could jump to a calculator, which would be fine, I guess, but we should be able to do a lot of this by hand or mental math. 1/8 plus 1/8 is the same denominator. 1/4 can be rewritten as 2/8. And I know it can be rewritten as 2/8 because to turn a 4 into an 8, I'm going to times 2 to the bottom and top of that fraction. Get a little zooming in. Okay, so we have 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8. Once you have a common denominator and they're all the same, 8 is the denominator of all 4 of those fractions, then it's possible to just add the numerators. So we have 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 turns into 6/8. And then because both of those numbers, the 6 on top, the numerator, and the 8 on bottom, the denominator, are even, we can divide them both by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And there you have it. That is our result, the sum of those 4 fractions for number 1. In question 2, the math is actually a little bit easier. Because we multiply straight across when we're multiplying fractions. So to multiply straight across means 1 times 1 times 2. And straight across, 3 times 2 times 5. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 2/30. Now that's certainly one method. Both of those numbers, top and bottom, are even. So because top number is even and it's a 2, when we divide by 2, we get a 1. Because 30 is even, when we divide by 2, we get 15. And this really is the fraction 1/15. However, there is something we could have done in the beginning, and I'm just going to show you that this happens when we're multiplying fractions. The 2 that's on the top of one of those fractions and the 2 that's on the bottom of one of the other fractions, they can already just right away be canceled. Let's see, what's the proper way to say this? When you are reducing fractions, common numerator-denominator amounts, 2/2, reduced to 0. Reduced to 1. So this could really be rewritten as 1/3 times 1/5, which is also maybe a different way of writing it, 1 over 15. Same answer, same result. It's one of those like multiple paths. Get to 1 over 15 for number 2. Last of all, in question 3, we have the same scenario, except instead of going 6 times 6 times 6, which is 216, and 1 times 5 times 3, I'm going to write it out. We have 1 times 5 times 3, that's 15, and we have 6 times 6 times 6, which is 216. Instead of writing it like that, maybe one thing we could have done is reduce. So I'm going to look at the 3 over 6 fraction and reduce that first. 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. Both of those numbers are divisible by 3, so we can write down a 1 and a 2 instead. Still multiply straight across, but now instead of multiplying straight across and multiplying by 3, we're going to multiply 1 times 5 times 1. And then over here, 6 times 6, those didn't reduce, but this last, the third one, the last 6 is reduced. It's now a 2. 6 times 6 times 2. You can group those in any way that you want to. The way that I'm immediately seeing it is 6 times 6 is 36, and then doubling 36 is 72. You could have also grouped the 2 and 1 of the 6's first. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 6 is 72. You just need to remember to know your multiplications. You should not need a calculator for these questions, but if you do, all right, fine, I guess Desmos would work as well. As you click on the next video and move forward in these pages, like 774 is the next lesson, we're going to continue talking about probability, about sample spaces, about probability models, and just what it means to know the likelihood or how often something has a chance of occurring. So stick around, click the next video, and thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.